בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, שבוע טוב, שבוע מבורך to everybody. We're back here, Sunday night shiur. We're continuing our Jewish HaShkafa series based on the Sefer by the Chazon Ish, the Jewish ideology, how to think like a Jew, how to think like a Jew that has Yirat Shamayim, a Jew that understands their purpose in this world. Based on the extraordinary Sefer by the Chazon Ish called EMUNAH v'Bitachon, Faith and Trust in English. Tonight's shiur will be for Refuah Shlema for Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, David ben Esriya, Mashiach ben Avigail ve'Avram, Talia Bat Sarah, Orit Bat Ilana, Yitro ben Avraham, and also for Atzlacha Rabba of Shaul ben Farzaneh, Amir ben Shahin Esther, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, David ben Esriya, Yitro ben Avraham, Joshua ben Noach, Reuven Chaim ben Pala Parel, and Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, and all of Am Yisrael and all of the righteous Noahides out there that are supporting us and helping us, whether it's by watching our lectures and learning Torah with us, which we'll learn a fantastic story about today, BeEzrat HaShem, or it's people that are donating their time, their money, and efforts to help us continue publicizing our Torah all over the world, and Baruch HaShem, continuing to reach more and more people, to give you some update, especially to the people that watch our shurim on a regular basis for several years and have seen, Baruch Hashem, the growth of our Torah and our organization, BeEzrat HaShem, over these years. This is surely always a good update to have. You know, these are our partners. We always like to update them as often as possible. And we do it through our shurim. I don't make any personal phone calls to raise money with anyone. There's just simply no time to do it, even though I'm sure it would be fruitful to as far as money is concerned, but we have more concerns than just money. We have time to learn Torah, to help people, to do chesed, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu decides what he wants to send us as far as money is concerned. But nonetheless, there's a lot of money needed and a lot of money spent on different projects. One of the things we started investing in last year is we opened a girls' seminary in Tel Zion in Israel for when there was the whole coronavirus happening and there was no school for girls. Unfortunately, there was a lot of problems in the religious neighborhoods where a lot of the girls simply would be bored out of their mind. Unlike the boys that would at least go to pray a few times a day, and perhaps even some of them to learn, the girls had nothing to do, and many of them would start getting into trouble. So one of our avrechim in Eretz Yisrael, Rav Alimi, was one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. Him and his dear Rabbanit, his wife, they already have a lot of experience with young people. They have already a program with 300 plus boys that they help, during the Ben Azmanim times and so on. So we decided that we're going to open a girls' seminary that's going to be part-time, meaning several times a week, and to help these girls. And before you know it, we had between 200 to 400 girls showing up to the program several times a week from 9th to 12th grade. Baruch Hashem, we started bringing some of the best known speakers in Eretz Yisrael, really, really fantastic speakers that say the emet, but also know how to cater to the young neshamot. The program has been such a hit. It's helped so many girls that the parents are coming and thanking us and sending letters and making videos of thank yous. Perhaps we'll publicize one of them soon, but so many wonderful things. And a lot of these girls that started going off the derech or went completely off started coming back. Some of them even became some of the leaders within the community. So it's been a very, very stellar progress.
הרב ירון ראובן, ראש ארגון בעזרת השם. כרכזת של תל ציון, אני חייבת להודות לכם על הארגון המדהים הזה, שמחדיר בבנות, בנות היישוב, המון יראת שמיים, המון אהבת תורה, ונותן כלים מעשיים לבנות לגיל ההתבגרות. אין מילים, תודה רבה בשם תושבי תל ציון, הורי היישוב ובנות היישוב.
שלום וברכה, שמי מיכל כהן ואני רכזת נערות בכיתות ט' בארגון בעזרת השם של בנות עלייה בתל ציון. זו זכות מאוד גדולה בשבילי להיות חלק מהארגון הזה. ברוך השם, אנחנו מדי שבוע זוכרות להעניק לבנות חוויה מאוד משמעותית, אם זה פעילויות, אם זה הרצאות. אנחנו ברוך השם עובדים סביב השעון ומשתדלים, ברוך השם, בסייעתא דשמיא, עם העזרה מצד כל הגורמים, משתדלים באמת להפיק את המרב. אנחנו מאוד נהנות ויש הרצאות, מדריכות, בכיף, תודה.
רציתי להגיד שאני מאוד נהנית מהתוכניות של בנות עלייה. גם בזמן הסגר דאגו לנו והביאו לנו ערכות, באמת זה ממש הפיק לנו הרבה מהשעמום. אנחנו מאוד נהנות, ככה כל איזה שבוע אנחנו מגיעות לתוכנית, גם להרצאות מאוד מחזקות, אנחנו מאוד אוהבות את זה ונהנות.
We want to say thank you for the organization that gave us more attractives and she gave us people who came to speak, and thank you.
תודה רבה לארגון היקר על כל הפעילויות הנהדרות וההרצאות המעשירות והמדריכות המהממות. תודה רבה, אנחנו ממש נהנות.
רציתי להגיד תודה רבה על הארגון ועל כל התרומות, אנחנו מאוד נהנות וזה מאוד תורם לנו ואנחנו מאוד מתחזקות מזה ותודה רבה.
But one major thing that has happened in the last few months is that several rabbis and rabbaniot from different cities started hearing about the program in different places in Yerushalayim and Netanya and a few other places, and started reaching out to us and asking us, "What did you do? What did you do?" I mean, we're hearing program, we're seeing it. I mean, it's unbelievable. We want to do the same thing. So Baruch Hashem, other places are are looking to do something similar, and but because of that fantastic results, it's and you see the program they have. I honestly don't know how Rav Alimi and his wife have the Rabbanit have any time to breathe, especially when they have Baruch Hashem a big family of their own. But nonetheless, Yishtabach Shimo, the Hashem makes those that want to do good successful. And one of the things that has happened is that in Tel Zion, in that area over there, there's always been only one girls' seminary. And now, if that was a good seminary, it wouldn't necessarily be a problem. The problem is that it's run by a very mean-spirited person that does not like Sephardic people, and on a regular basis throws out the young girls out of his seminary, knowing that they have no other place to go. So, but at the same token, nobody has come up with any solutions because it requires people, money, and so on. Anyway, long story short, we actually just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with some of the biggest rabbis in the area, as well as in Yerushalayim. I've come together with Rabbi Alimi and a few others, and BeEzrat Hashem will publicize some pictures when we post this on YouTube tomorrow. From that meeting, some big rabbis came to support, and in getting the approval, we got, Baruch Hashem, the approval from the government to open a full-time girls' seminary, a girls' high school, BeEzrat Hashem, starting with 9th grade, and every year will increase the amount of people. And one of the biggest things is the fact that it's going to be a Sephardic girls' seminary. Of course, Ashkenazi girls are always welcome as well, but nonetheless, this is the main kicker is that because they're saying we already have one. Well, we're looking for the Sephardic one. Okay, so why do we need one? Is there a need or you just want to open one? There's a need. Why there's a need? Because this Rasha threw out over 30 girls from his seminary and they have no place to go. So at the very least, we know we have 39th graders, probably more than 45, 50 or so, but nonetheless, he threw out 30 out of the school and they have no place to go. So at the very least, we have that. So after the city saw that, they said, okay, it's done. So Ishtabach Shimol, this is going on. The few people that helped us and started partnering with us on a regular basis. I told you we have a decent sized budget for that project. BeEzrat HaShem will get some help also from the government for this seminary, but there's still probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15% that needs to be made up. But nonetheless, anybody that donates, wants to donate for this as well, can donate. You're welcome to. Of course, we always have our avrechim that we send money to on a regular basis. We're probably looking at anywhere between, I would say approximately $20,000 a month just going to Eretz Yisrael for avrechim, for different Torah scholars that are learning Torah. Sometimes we have a little bit more. I don't really have the time to go over all the details, but there's always unique projects like the one that came up last week. There's a new yeshiva that started for a bunch of young boys that want to learn, but their Rosh Yeshiva abandoned them. And so another one came along, but doesn't have the funding to get books and to have the shelves. So, Baruch Hashem, the tzaddik that we know there contacted us, and right away we sent them the $5,000 or so that were needed to get the boys some books, to get the boys the shelves, so they could learn Torah, they could have the books, and BeEzrat HaShem keep this world going. So there's always wonderful projects that are going on, and some of you that are involved and donating and doing different things to help us, you have no idea how many amazing projects your money is going into, aside from just helping more and more people do tshuva, which in itself is unbelievable. We keep getting more and more letters from people that are waking up by seeing these flyers that we have in different places, whether it be New York, Los Angeles, in Israel. We got somebody that contacted us because of this, a woman that said that she completely changed our life after seeing some of our stuff in Eretz Yisrael. I think it was in Haifa. All different places of different smart people that took the time, a little bit of money, invested their time and money into giving these flyers out or the CDs in different places. So Baruch Hashem, it's helping a lot of people. And the best of all is that online the statistics are growing exponentially, Baruch Hashem. Last year around this time, we were at about 5 million minutes per month of people learning our Torah. 5 million per month was exceptionally higher than the year before. Right now, Baruch Hashem, the last time I checked was probably about a week or two ago, we already crossed over 10 million per month. Over 10 million minutes per month of Torah being learned on our channels, and this is not including everything. This is just the YouTube. This doesn't include Facebook and the app and WhatsApp and everything else. If you add those numbers, it's exceptionally more. But nonetheless, the amount of people that are watching Rav Ephraim's channel, Rav Chaim's channel, my channel, Baruch Hashem, and also all the Hebrew channel, the Indonesian, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, we have, I believe, Russian. We have 10 different languages, Baruch Hashem, of Torah. You're talking about millions and millions of hours being learned and challenging some of the bigger Jewish organizations in the world now. And I believe, BeEzrat HaShem, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu wills, we will surpass everybody very soon and start really making a headway in a much bigger way. But nonetheless, all of the people that are investing into our organization are making still investment into a startup. Even though we're not really a startup anymore, we've been going on for a little while now already. Still, I believe that we are still in a starting stage of, in comparison to where we're going to be. We're still looking for a place, a physical place here in Florida to buy, because renting a place is simply not possible with all of the regulations and the issues that are happening here. So we still need to raise money in order to buy a building, but BeEzrat HaShem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will provide that too. But this Torah doesn't stop. The Torah doesn't stop, and it's amazing that how much impact we can have on people around the world. With just simply doing all the things that we're doing, Baruch Hashem, with the team, which is now, I believe, somewhere around 70 people between the volunteers and employees. About 70 people, Baruch Hashem. So a lot of good things happening. And with that being said, it's this shiur is a shiur that I believe is going to really hit home. Anyone that's a entrepreneur-minded person, anyone that is a business person, male or female, doesn't really make a difference. Young or old also doesn't make much of a difference. I believe the older people perhaps will understand more than the younger people because of their experience, but nonetheless, this shiur was going to hit home for anyone that is trying to grow big, trying to succeed in the money world and in the business world, whether it be in investments or it be in real estate or any type of entrepreneurship business. This shiur is going to hit home, and the reason why is because everybody out there that's chasing the dollar or whatever local currency they have is really, everyone is thinking big now. Everyone is thinking they're going to be the next big startup, the next, billion-dollar company, the next, millionaire down the street, and so on and so forth. And lots of people are going after the big money that's available out there, b'siyata d'shemaya. But at the same token, you see those very same people and everyone around them not necessarily have the emunah that fits such big dreams. And most people don't understand what's the connection. Okay, it's good if you have emunah, but if you're already looking to make $100 million, $1 billion, $10 million, whatever it is, what does emunah have to do with it? Emunah isn't emunah for poor people. Isn't emunah for people that are just barely making it. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. And it's people that are thinking big with baby emunah. And what's the impact of that? Now, last week, the Chazon Ish gave us a detailed explanation of that came from the Yad Shaul, Rav Natanson, about a story that not only happened in the past, but unfortunately happens on a regular basis today, where you have rabbis in a city that doesn't have necessarily much Torah, but they're doing whatever they can. They're doing their best to help the community. They're opening a Chabad, they're opening an Orthodox shul, they're opening a Breslov center, they're opening an Ashkenazi or Sephardi community, and they're doing whatever they can. But not much is really happening to the extent where they're making such a huge revolution, but they're doing their best. And then after they've already invested 5, 10, 20, 30 years already into the community, comes somebody else, new guy, fresh, without all of the scars perhaps of difficulty that they have, and wants to teach, or a group of rabbis that want to teach. Now the Torah says that the jealousy is only permissible if it's between scholars. If it's between scholars. If you're jealous of another business person, you're jealous of somebody else's looks, you're jealous of somebody else's money, you're jealous of somebody else's reputation, and so on, that's a forbidden jealousy that you have to do whatever you can to get rid of that jealousy, because a person that's jealous will not be resurrected with the dead, Hashem Yishmor. So it's a jealousy is a very, very despised trait. It's even in the 10 Commandments. But nonetheless, when it comes to jealousy among scholars, where you see another scholar, another Torah scholar, knows more than you, speaks better than you, writes better than you, and so on, or perhaps even if he's in the same level as you, but he just completed a book that you didn't, it's allowed to be jealous. Why? Because jealousy between scholars creates good, healthy competition. But what happens if a rabbi that's already building a place for 30 years, he's there, and a new guy comes. New guy, a group of people come, and they want to come teach. So the Yad Shaul says that these people are perfectly allowed to teach. Allowed to teach. Why? There's more Torah. But the people said, no, not allowed to teach. Why? Because the Shulchan Aruch says that if one person has a business, and another in a town already, he's there, he builds his business and so on. He sells, let's say he sells shoes, okay? And he's already there for 10, 15 years. And you want to come to the town, you're a new guy, you want to come to the town, you want to open a store right next door to him. You're not allowed according to Halakha. Not allowed. So same thing here. Same thing here. So the Chazon Ish says, no, the Yad Shaul says, absolutely, different story. When it comes to Torah, of course they're allowed to come teach. And you cannot make the two the same. So then those wicked local rabbis that did not want more Torah there say, no, didn't the Rama say that if he comes and he's going to make money out of it, then it's not allowed. So we're going to go to the mayor of the city and we're going to stop these guys from opening their yeshiva. So the Yad Shaul says to them, no, it's not the same. Not the same. What the Rama was trying to say is that if they're coming purely to do chuppah v'kiddushin and things that it's just simply to make money, then yes, you're right, that's a business. That's a business. If they're coming there to do chuppah and kiddushin, they have to give the money to the local rabbi. If that's the reason why they come in there, they have to give the money to the local rabbi. If it's to do a bet din, and people want to come to them, they're allowed to do that, even if there is money involved. Why? Because he can't handle all the cases, and nonetheless, that's not usually a reason somebody comes someplace. Usually it's because they're teaching Torah. People are going to come to them only because they're teaching Torah. If they're coming there to teach Torah, surely they're allowed. And you're just manipulating the judgment of what the Shulchan Aruch is saying. So here we see that you have to know the details of the law, no matter how religious you are. And in fact, the more religious you are, the more details you need to know. Now what about, we say again, with business. What about with business? He said with business, again, there is limitations of what you can and you can't do because you're hurting people's parnasah. If you're coming to open a store next to them, or at least theoretically you're hurting their parnasah. Is that really the reason? That you're not allowed to open a store next door to another guy that's already there because you're hurting their parnasah? Answer is absolutely not. That's not the real reason. Why? Because you're not hurting his parnasah. But wait a minute, you just said you're going to hurt his parnasah. In your mind, you think that you're hurting his parnasah or he's hurting your parnasah. But in reality, it's not hurting the parnasah. And that's where the Chazon Ish is going to elaborate now. So we are in chapter 3, section number 15. Chazon Ish says the following. The fact that the local craftsman can hinder a foreign craftsman from coming into town because of the danger of the damage to their livelihood is not because of a realistic consideration, meaning that he's actually going to hurt his parnasah. That's not the real reason of why he's allowed to stop him from coming over. Meaning he has a shoe store, the other guy wants to open a shoe store right next door to him. Halakha says not allowed. Not allowed. Because it's not Torah, business not allowed. So the Chazon Ish says that this stopping him from coming into town and opening the shoe store, competing business next to you, you're allowed to stop him. But it's not really because it's a realistic consideration that we really believe, according to the Torah, that he's going to stop your parnasah. That's not the real reason. It's not even realistic to think that. But rather because of the obligation to make an effort. The ishtadlut, in this case, to earn a livelihood. What does he mean? For a person's sustenance is set from Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur of the following year. And nothing will be lacking from this quota if an artisan comes to town from some other place, and nothing will be added on in such an event that it does not occur. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 16a, and also Masechet Beitzah, page 16b, both say the following, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on Rosh Hashanah, decides how much money each and every single one of us is going to make that year. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor, or a lawyer, or a rabbi, or you're collecting change in the streets. Doesn't make a difference. Everyone's parnasa, everyone's income is going to be decided on Rosh Hashanah. Everyone's. No matter what the profession is. And someone can say, wait a minute, but hold on. I already know how much money I'm going to make. I work for Goldman Sachs. I work for Coca-Cola. I work for Google. They already signed a deal with me. I'm going to make $150,000 this year. I don't need HaShem to decide anything for me. No, Habibi. You haven't learned anything yet. Why? You think that just because you have a deal with Goldman Sachs or with some other company, that's how much you're going to make? You're fooling yourself. You're living a fantasy. How come? I've been working for them for 10 years. Every year they give me money. Who says you're going to continue working for them? Who says that's the only way you're going to make money? Who says that your expenses will remain the same? And that's why we do not learn Gemara from a single place, but rather when we learn a subject, we have to learn it from all places of where it's mentioned. And therefore we have to also go to the Gemara in Bava Batra, page 10a, that says the same exact thing, that the mezonot of a person, the income of a person, is going to be decided on Rosh Hashanah, and this income does not include the money that he decides to spend on mitzvot, whether it be Shabbat, tzedakah, or anything else. That money is in addition to whatever income he decides, which means that the more emunah a person has, the more tzedakah they give, the more money they spend on mitzvot, the more expensive and extraordinary their tefillin is, and their Shabbat clothes are, and their mezuzahs are, and all their etrog. They're not buying that get 2-for-1 discount etrog from last year. They're buying the best etrog they can possibly find, and so on and so forth, because they know this is not really considered part of my income. This is mitzvah money. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will add this to my income. But nonetheless, the Gemara here in Masechet Bava Batra says something extraordinary. It is not just the mezonot, the sustenance, that is decided on Rosh Hashanah for each and every single one of us, but also the chesronot. What's the chesronot? The losses. The losses are decided on Rosh Hashanah. Im zacha, if he merited, then the pasuk in the book of Isaiah will be fulfilled. Which pasuk? Pasuk chapter 58, verse 7, which will go in a second. Im lo zacha, the same pasuk will be fulfilled. 58:7, just a different part of the pasuk. If he merited, then he will get the first half of the pasuk. If he didn't merit, the second half of the pasuk. Second half of the verse. What is this pasuk? What is this pasuk? I want to know, money I'm going to get, good. But what losses? Why? You have some people, they make $1 million a year, but they're acting like they're homeless. Why? Listen, I'm not sure if I can afford to buy kosher food. Why not? I'm not sure if I could pay rent. Why not? I'm not sure if I could afford to pay my lease on my car. Why not? I'm not sure if I could make it this month. Why not? What's going on? I don't know. I had losses and doctors and lawyers and IRS and this and that. All of a sudden, everything is a tragedy. It's like person makes a ton of money and all the money is running out of the window faster than it's coming. I know the story firsthand. So here, the Gemara is telling us it's not just about the mezonot. It's not just about the income. It's about the chesronot. What's the chesronot? The verse in Isaiah, chapter 58, verse number 7, say, Im zacha alo paras l'ra'av lachmecha. If he merited, if he has merits, if he did good, if he lived by the Torah, then the first part of the verse will be fulfilled. Surely you should break your bread for the hungry. Meaning, if you have merits, you live the life with Torah, that money that is supposed to be losses that was decided for you on Rosh Hashanah, HaShem is going to use those losses instead of it being losses for doctors, lawyers, IRS, taxes, problems, tzedakah money. Your tzedakah money will replace the losses that you're supposed to. You ask a person, listen, why don't you, donate to this and that? $50. Oh, but don't you make $300,000 a year? You're donating $50 like a 20-year-old kid? I mean, shouldn't there be like age-appropriate tzedakah, income-appropriate tzedakah? No, that's all I could afford. I have this problem and that problem and that problem. Oh, okay. You have this problem? Don't worry. Don't donate. I'll give you the money. Donate to you $50. Miskin, the poor guy. He has so many problems, you feel bad for him. Some people are like that, no matter how much money they make. Why? They have no merits. It's not they have no money. They have no merits. Why? Because they didn't live their life in accordance to what a Kadosh Baruch Hu was expecting of them, and therefore their losses came from problems. But if they lived life in accordance to what Hashem says, their losses will come in the form of tzedakah. All the money that they're donating for tzedakah, that replaces their losses. And nonetheless, also this does not mean that he's not going to, if there's no losses warranted for that such a person, Kadosh Baruch Hu will increase their income even further, above, because they're using this tzedakah money, they're using their money for tzedakah, so that goes above their income. But im lo zacha, the same exact verse gets fulfilled. How could it be? Because the rest of the verse says, "V'aniim merudim tafi BEIT," that and bring the mourning poor to your home, meaning that if a person does not have merit, his own people and his own household will be poor. Same exact verse, two different parts. If he has, the way the Chachamim studied the verses in the Torah, it's not like the fools and the arrogant and the ignorant. No, they studied word by word and connected it to every single thing in the Torah. Everything is connected. It's unbelievable how connected the Torah is to each other, where if you really deal with a Talmid Chacham, and I'll tell you a personal story just so you understand what a Talmid Chacham is like. People talk on the internet, whether it be myself or anybody else, they go, oh yeah, they know a lot of things. You have no idea what a Talmid Chacham is. A serious Talmid Chacham, it's something out of this world. It's literally like a eighth wonder of the world, where on the private shiurim that I have with Rabbi Ephraim, may Hashem bless him and give him a very, very long life, full of Torah, mitzvot, gemilut chasadim, nachat u'bracha, and may the whole world understand and discover his Torah. At times, I'm telling you this only for the sake of you understanding what is the difference between a Talmid Chacham and the rest of mankind, practically. Simply, the rest of mankind. It's because it's two different species. And unless you've experienced this yourself, you're simply not going to ever understand that such a thing is humanly possible. It's not everybody has the gift of gab, of speaking and so on. But to be a Talmid Chacham, it's something extraordinary. Why? Because when you have a Talmid Chacham that knows the Torah like you know the back of your hand, has a grasp of the Torah, you have a person that you can simply have a shiur about anything you want. But you think, oh yeah, but there's a lot of rabbis out there that have a lot of shiurim. They made shiurim about this and about that and about this and about that. No. Further. At any time you want. Okay, you have a lot of rabbis and a lot of people, even in the Christian world, Hashem Yishmor. You could ask them a question, they could talk for a half hour. Not a big deal. Different. What's different? In our private shiurim, unless we have a specific subject we have to learn, we sometimes have a day off. What's a day off? Day off is not no studying. A day off is, Yaron, here, pick whatever sources you want. As many books as you want. Open the book wherever you want. Tell me what it says, and we'll do a shiur. What does that mean? I go to my library, pick books randomly. I don't know the books. Pick a book, open it wherever, this is what it says. Pick a book, open it whatever, this is what it says. Pick a book, open it whatever, this is what it says. I decide, you know what, I want to know what it says. So I decide, this is what it says, this is what it says. How many? As many as you want. 5, 10, 15, 20. Now when I first experienced it, I couldn't understand. So, let's do a shiur. Okay, I don't know, 10 different sources completely unrelated. One is talking about vows, the other one is talking about this, the other one is talking about the completely unrelated issues. No, Yaron. He calls me Rabbi Yaron, but Yaron. He says, no, I'm going to add some sources. Well, I just gave you 10 different sources unrelated. No, it's not enough. 20, 30 different sources. The shiur in 1 hour. hour and a half hour, whatever ends up happening, all of those sources, you see how they're connected as if they are all in the same parasha, as if they're all saying the same exact thing. As if it's not manipulation of speech, but rather it's showing how the Torah is no different than the nervous system, or in fact, le'avdil, the nervous system is similar to the Torah. Everything is connected. If you can't connect those points, it just simply means you're not a scholar yet to that caliber. But a real caliber, a real Torah scholar, that's one of the Gedolim, as many sources as you want, they're all connected. Everything is connected. No different than your fingers are connected to your hand. No different than your eyelashes are on your eye. Everything is connected. And that's how we have our shulim. That's our day off. And a person that has never seen this with their own eyes simply cannot even comprehend that such a thing is possible. This is also part of the reason why it bothers me so much when people either give ignorant people lots of compliments and say, oh yeah, he knows the whole Torah, and you know this guy barely knows Aleph Bet. Or worse yet, where people simply discount the knowledge of the Gdolei Ador and say things about the Chachamim as if they're average people. And the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says, if the scholars of that time, the scholars that were able to literally resurrect the dead with their words, with their prayers, they themselves are saying, if the scholars before us are the equivalent of humans, then we are like donkeys. Like donkey. I'm sorry, if they are like angels, then we are humans. If they're humans, then we are donkeys. And this is the greatest scholars in history as say calling themselves donkeys. If they consider themselves possibly donkeys, what are we? So when a person disregards or disrespects the magnitude of the Talmidei Chachamim of this generation and of the past, like some of these wicked people that we've mentioned in the past, it's really, it's something that is so ridiculous that only a person that knows scholars knows how far their words are from what the truth is. But the beauty here is that we have the Torah, and anyone that delves into it will discover the wisdom of the Chachamim, and see how beautiful and sweet the Torah is, and see that the Torah literally discussed every subject, and it's all connected. Whether it's EMUNAH or your personal business, whether it's your marriage or it's the way that you pray, whether it's the way that the mo'el that you choose to do brit milah for your son, or the rabbi that you choose to ask a question about specific issues that are between you and your wife. Everything is connected. The way you make a vow, the way you make a prayer, the way you decide to pronounce certain words, and how many pages of Torah you read per day, the way that you eat, and the way that you seriously just talk to your son. Anything, it's all connected. And literally every one of the mitzvot in the Torah, they're all connected. Every one of the verses in the Torah, it's all connected. And the more you learn Torah, the more you see it. But sometimes people are so enamored by the big world of business, where they see the big world of the billionaires of the world and the Googles of the world and so on and so forth, they think that that's bigger than the Torah. And they only think that because they don't understand how big the Torah is and how big those Torah scholars are. And that size is not based on their net income, on their IRS statement, on their 1099. No, it's literally the mind of the scholars might as well belong to a different species, because that's what it's like. Now, of course, not all scholars are the same. Not all scholars have the same knowledge, but nonetheless, every Torah scholar that I've ever met, a true scholar that I've met, have been people that you might as well feel like you're talking to someone that lived at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. No different. Their mind works different, their personality is different, their traits are different, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And that's why this is something that we invest so heavily in, not just money, but also time to read their Torah and to publicize their Torah. Because if the average person would simply get a glimpse of what Torah we have available to us, simply they would want to change their life more than they would want to change their house. or their car or the rest of their stuff. But nonetheless, again, it doesn't mean that a person needs to become homeless. It doesn't mean that a person needs to become a beggar. But everything has to be viewed in a certain perspective. Now, the Chazon Ish is saying that if you look at money in such a perspective, at your business in such a perspective, where that's the priority, and that means that you're going to think, you're going to have the mindset that anyone that's going to come and compete with you, he's an enemy that can steal your bread. And Chazon Ish is trying to tell you here is that this cannot be. No one can steal your bread. No one can steal your income unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu decrees it. Because your income is decided on Rosh Hashanah, and also your losses are decided on Rosh Hashanah. And how you're going to lose is decided as well. A lot of it is decided on a day-to-day basis even, according to the Mishnah, depending on your actions. That's why you'll see anyone that's has taken this challenge on that I've talked to people about in the past. Not everybody has this ability, but nonetheless, anyone that's in the business world who wants to seriously test themselves and is still falling for the crime of wasting seed, just look at it this way. Anytime you waste seed, immediately you lose money. Immediately. This is one of the sins that Hashem punishes on the spot. You waste seed, you're losing money the next day. For sure you're losing money that week. For sure you're not, the thing is, it's not going to be the same. No questions asked. Now you can say, wait, but I still made $25,000 the next day on a trade. If you didn't waste seed, you would have made a lot more. Or best yet, even if you made $25,000, doesn't mean you're going to take home $25,000 by the time everything is finished. And you see that people that are immoral, generally speaking, have a tragic life. Tragic life that, at times looks like it's good, but then you see how everything falls apart. So now the Chazon Ish says that the reason why the actual Torah, the halacha, allows you to hinder a person from opening a business next door to you is not because he could really take money away from you. That's not even reality in the real world. It's reality in your mind, and that's why that's taken into consideration. What's in your mind is what's being taken into consideration here. Because your parnasah is decided on Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur. Nothing will be lacking from this quota if somebody comes from out of town, and nothing will be added if it doesn't happen. Meaning, if he decides, you know what, I'm not coming, I'm not moving next door to you, you're not going to make more money because of that. And then he says, however, if the local artisan is allowed to stop the newcomer, it becomes his obligation to make that effort and the obligation of the other person to prevent damage to him. If you decide to stop that person from opening a store next to you, now it becomes your obligation to add this extra ishtadlut to your life to make your money. Why? Because now you're taking things into your hand. You're adding ishtadlut. You're not adding income to your pocket, but you're adding effort. That effort that you're adding to stopping him, to go to lawsuits, bedin, government, all that stuff, that's time that's taken away from other places, whether it be learning Torah, doing mitzvot, or even working, making money. He, on the other hand, has the obligation to prevent you from stopping him. And if it's not permitted to stop him, there is also no obligation to make this effort. And he cannot consider his fellow as someone who's causing him damage. But if, according to the Torah, you're not allowed to stop him. Why? He's not damaging your business. He's in a completely different business. Or perhaps he's coming to teach Torah, which is allowed. Then you're not allowed to stop him. And therefore, there's no reason to think that you're going to need to work extra hours to make the money because you think that half the customers are now going to him. You're not going to have to work any harder because you now have a local, another rabbi next door to you, and half of your keilah went to him. You're not going to have to work harder in order to get the same amount of donations for people. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu will worry about you just like he worries about him. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but logically speaking, if half of my community went to him, surely I'm going to lose some donations. right? So I need to work harder in order to get those donations back, whether it's to get the people back or to convince the people that I have to donate more or to get new people. Surely I have to do something in order to make more money. Torah says, no, you have no obligation to make this extra effort because he's not causing you any damage. What do you mean? But he just took some of my students. He took some of your students, but as far as parnasah, as far as money, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the same exact one. Why? Because he is doing what Torah says. You are doing what Torah says. Neither one of you is going to lose. And you cannot view him as someone that's taken away money from you. Because he's not. The supplier of food to all creatures, meaning HaShem, to all creatures of the world, will certainly provide for his needs. And seeking imaginary reasons based on one's own heart and eyes is futile. Where a person has to understand that when you see that someone is coming into town, whether it be another synagogue, another yeshiva, or even another business, you cannot think for a moment that that person, even if they are in a competing business, that that person is going to steal away money from you if Hashem did not decree it. And you looking and you see, oh, they have a new campaign, they just raised $1 million. Oh, that means that they're not going to send money to me. Why? Because they already donated $1 million to him. Wrong. Oh, look, he just has a sale and everybody came over there and bought everything in the store. They're not going to buy anything from me because, they already spent all their money on him. Wrong. All of these things are considered znut aynaim. What's znut aynaim? The promiscuity of the eyes. Why? Because a person is looking elsewhere, he's looking at the grass of his neighbor and says, oh, it's greener. Oh, look, he has a campaign, he raised $1 million. Oh, look, they have a sale, they sold everything. Oh, look, they have a new product and they have a unique contract, an exclusive contract on selling this house. They have an exclusive on selling this product. They're the best. They're this. I'm not going to be able to pay. I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm going to go out of business. All of that is promiscuity of the eyes. Why are you looking elsewhere? Why are you looking elsewhere? Do you think he's the one that decides your parnasah? You think she is the one that decides how much money you're going to have to eat that month? Absolutely not. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only one that decides. And just like he feeds the ants and the pigs and the horses and the people that hate him, and the people that worship idols, and the people that love him, surely he will feed you too. Surely he will feed you too. To think otherwise is a form of heresy. And therefore, he calls this znut aynaim, this promiscuity of the eyes, futile. Futile because you're looking at somebody else's pockets. One of the worst traits that a person can have is counting other people's money. It's one of the most obnoxious things in the world. Baruch Hashem, I've merited to have many people my whole life always counting my money. When I was on Wall Street, after Wall Street, for whatever reason or another, my financial well-being has always been the interest of the public. People would literally, when I was on Wall Street, when I first started making a lot of money, within literally a matter of days, I got a phone call from somebody. Hey, listen, I heard you made a big trade the other day. I said, how did you hear? You don't work here. I haven't talked to you in 20 years. Oh, yeah, but I heard you did. Did you do it, really? I said, yeah, we did okay. How much? How much you do? I'm like, it doesn't make a difference how much. But how did you know? Oh, because one of your employees, he knows somebody is. Literally, I'm working, doing my thing in my office. One of the employees hears something, decides to spread it to the whole world. And every single time we would do anything big, somehow the word would get out and everybody would be worried about how much money that we're making. It was the most obnoxious thing in the world. People would come to my house, start pointing at, oh, how much did that cost you? Oh, how much is that? How much is this house? You rent here or you bought? Is that yours? That this? Or is that a custom suit? Or is that something? What do you care about these? What are you, my accountant? Are you doing taxes for me? What do you care? Is it coming out of your pocket? How much did you donate? Wow, you sure? Huh? That's the way people are. It's obnoxious. And if you're one of those people that ask people how much their stuff cost, it's a very obnoxious and it's sinful behavior. Very, very obnoxious and very sinful. Why? It's, first of all, it's ayn hara. First of all. Second of all, for sure it'll create jealousy. For sure it creates jealousy. You see somebody that has something that you want, something that's nice, something that's expensive. You ask, oh, how much did that car cost you? Or how much did that house? Do you rent? Did you buy? Did you this? Did you that? Those are all purposeless questions, if not for the purpose of jealousy and causing other people harm. Simple. If you really want to find out how much the car costs, go on the internet. There's something called the internet. It's a big scam, but everybody's using it. Go on the internet, type in the car that you want, press the enter, and you'll see the price. Simple. What do you need to ask him for? What do you want to size him up? How much money he's making? Oh, what kind of doctor are you? Why, you looking for a doctor? You look pretty healthy. No. I just want to know if you're a spinal surgeon, or if you're an eye surgeon, or if you're just a dentist, or if you are a dentist, maybe you're an oral surgeon. Why? I want to know how much money you make. Rabotai Karim, that's what people do all the time. They ask you where you work and how long you work and how much this and how much that. Oh, you have a 401k. Oh, you have an IRA. It's an obnoxious behavior. Horrible thing. Worse yet, it's become simply the conversation of the ignoramuses in the world to talk about other people's money. Even in the media, they do it on a regular basis. Anytime some athlete or celebrity signs a deal with some company or some team or some this, the whole world needs to know about it. And in fact, you only become an A-list person if you are spoken about by the whole world. It's no surprise that practically all of those people end up losing every penny that they have in the end. With all that ayin hara, how could they even survive the ayin hara? The Gemara says 999 out of 1,000 people die from ayin hara, from evil eye. And only 1 people die from old age. Only 1 out of 1,000 die from old age. All the evil eye people talk about other people's money. It's the most obnoxious thing in the world. And as we talked about last week, also talking about other things you have, like your wife or your husband, your kids. Simply put, don't talk about your stuff and don't ask people about their stuff. You want to talk to somebody? Talk about things. What do you think about this? Did you read this? What do you think about this parasha? What do you think about this mitzvah? Things that are meaningful, things that could actually impact your life. Because whether he bought or he rents the house doesn't make a difference. Whether the car costs $500 a month or $5,000 a month doesn't make a difference. Whether they're married for 5 years or 10 years for sure is not going to make a difference. And if their kid attends such and such school or a different school, surely will not help your retarded kid that doesn't want to go to school. The reality is, Rabotai, is that people talk about so many meaningless things and not realizing that they're causing damage to themselves. If not for the sake of jealousy and also the adultery that comes out of it and all of the damages, simply they're wasting their life. As the pasuk says, "V'nafshi yatz'a bedabro." HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that the soul of Am Yisrael left when he said the 10 commandments. When he said the first commandment, all of Am Yisrael died. Comes Rabbi Chaim Volozhin and says there's also another lesson we learned from this pasuk. That the soul comes out as a result of words. Whose words? Your own words. You waste your words, you're simply killing yourself early. Instead of dying at 120, chas v'shalom, you'll die earlier. Why? Why waste your speech? And the reality is, Rabotai, is that many people talk about money nonstop. It's either money or znut, immorality. That's what people talk about. It's just literally, there's nothing going on in here. There's like little mice from Sodom and Gomorrah in people's minds. Nothing else they talk about. Money or znut. We have to learn that we have to be different. And when a person simply understands that money, as far as how much he makes and how much his neighbor makes, is all decided by Hashem, he realizes what Shlomo HaMelech meant when he says, everything is evel avalim, everything is futile of futiles. Shlomo HaMelech was the richest man of the land. In the days of Shlomo HaMelech, people literally saw gold as useless because there was so much of it. He had a city that he gave as a gift. The whole city he gave as a gift. And this city was made of gold. The floor was gold. The buildings was gold. Everything was gold. He gave it as a gift because he needed the wood to build the Bet HaMikdash. That's how much money That's how much money Shlomo HaMelech has. And he says all of this gold is futile of futiles. Why? If you think you're the one that's responsible for making the gold, you're the one that's responsible for spending the gold and not having or this having or that having, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. He can never take a penny from you, and you can never take a penny from him unless HaShem decides it. Everything you think other than that is futile of futiles. It's simply, in our language, nonsense. Or, in Hebrew, shtuyot. Then the Chazon Ish continues, and he says something that is really a reality that I've seen one too many times, but unfortunately it's a reality that is more apparent in this generation, I believe, than other generations. What is it? Losers. Who are the losers? I'm not talking about the losers that don't fulfill anything in the Torah, and therefore they're going to end up losing their Olam Haba. Surely they are losers. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about somebody else's losers. Losers that everybody agrees are losers. Even themselves. Who? He says, blaming one's fellow man for all of one's problems and seeing him as the cause for one's lack of success when this fellow Jew is innocent according to the laws of the Torah is falling into a trap of lack of faith in Hashem's providence. Ktanut EMUNAH. Rabotai, have you ever met a person, doesn't matter their income, doesn't matter their career, doesn't matter their age, but no matter when you see them, they're always complaining about some form of tragedy that's happening to them. Hey, how you doing? Don't ask. Okay, I won't ask. No, I'm going to tell you anyway since you already asked. Oh, what happened? No, my wife, she did Okay. So that's why your face looks like it's a tragedy. Because your wife, okay, fine, all right. 2 months pass. You run into that person again. Hey, how you doing? Kind of looks sad, but you want to say how you doing because it's polite to say how you doing. Hey, how you doing? Don't ask. What happened? Somebody just ran into me, wrecked my whole car. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. 2 months later, hey, how you doing? Don't ask. What happened? The construction company I hired to remodel my house, they just this, they just did that. Every single time. How you doing? I just sold the stock too early. Just this happened. Every day, some type of problem never escapes them. And it's always somebody else did this to them, somebody else crashed into them, somebody else bounced the check on them, somebody else did this, and that's why they're not succeeding in life. That's why they're miserable. That's why they look like there's a death in the family practically every single day. Their wife, their kid, their job, the way to work, the way back from work, the vacation sucks, the food is terrible, this, that, the whole world is terrible. Those are the losers of the world. And all of us know at least one of them. Baruch Hashem, I have the merit to know a few, because I deal with a lot of people. But those are the losers of the world. Blame the world for all of their problems, to the extent where they blame everyone for their failures. They cannot make it in life. They cannot become successful in anything. Why? Because look at what everybody else is doing to me. My wife did this to me. My husband did this to me. My kid did this to me. My cousin did this to me. My father did this to me. I even know somebody that tells me, listen, I don't know, I can't do it. Why can't you get a normal job? You're 45, 50 years old already. You're still working as a bartender like you're in high school. Get a regular job, Habibi. No, I can't. Why? Listen, I can't. I just didn't grow up that way. What do you mean you didn't grow up that way? I don't know. Listen, when I grew up, I didn't have the regular parents, didn't educate me the right way. Fine, I understand not having the right parenting is tough. I get it. I even know somebody, a really good friend of mine, he lost his father. Fine. I know other people lost their mother. I know some people that were orphans. But they weren't still bartenders at 50 years old. Get a regular job. Go work for some kind. No, I can't. Why not? What does it have to do with somebody dying 45 years ago? I can't do it. Why can't you do it? I can't do it. They don't have a real reason. Why can't you settle down? I don't know. I can't do it. Why not? I can't do it. Because why? Because I had a relationship when I was... What do you mean? That relationship? You were 16 years old. You're 50. You're still single. You're going to clubs every weekend looking for the right one. Get a hold of yourself. You're a few minutes from dying already of old age. Many people are like that. Those are the losers of the world. Simply can't get ahead because of their excuses that everyone around them is at fault for their failures. He can't succeed in life with a job. He can't succeed in life to find a wife. She can't succeed in finding a husband. She's already in menopause, still hasn't found the right one. He can't succeed in getting a job. He's still delivering newspapers at 60 years old. Reality is they're losers. Why? Because they can't get out of their own way. Why can't they get out of their own way? Because they think that their fortune is decided by people. Meaning that their lack of belief in HaShem is the reason for their failure, nothing else. But some of those people could very well be religious. They could go to shul, they could pray, they could even learn some Torah. But when it comes to emunah, comes the Chazon Ish and says, "Unilkad be'avon katnut ha'emunah ube'hashkachato yitbarach." He's captured by the sin, the avon, of baby emunah, small emunah, and lack of belief in divine providence. The translation here is a little off in English. I'm giving you a better translation. He gets caught like a trap. What's the trap? Baby emunah is the trap. Baby emunah is the trap. And lack of belief in Hashem's divine providence. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot has a teachings by the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinus, or Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol he's also called. Rabbi Eliezer, anytime it says Rabbi Eliezer in the Gemara, it's always him. Unless it says Rabbi Eliezer, that's different. It specifies somebody different. But anytime it says Rabbi Eliezer, no, it's referring to Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, who is the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students. The entire oral Torah that we have today comes from Rabbi Akiva. So you just know who his rabbi is, Rabbi Eliezer, how great he was. So Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says the following, simple teachings that can change a life. He says the following, if you have food today, but you're worried about the food of tomorrow, where you're going to get it, how you're going to afford it, you have been caught by the trap of baby emunah. Little baby emunah, tiny emunah. In reality, no emunah, but baby emunah, because you still, exist. You didn't kill yourself yet. How many people do we know? They have not only food to eat, they have a house to live in. They have kids in their house. They have a wife, they have a husband, they have a job even. But they're worried about how I'm going to afford retirement. Retirement? You're 30 years old. What retirement? What retirement are you talking about? No, I don't know. I have these student loans. I owe $200,000. Who told you to go to university, spend $200,000 anyway for a job you're going to make $40,000 a year? That's already stupid. But anyway, you have the loans. Who cares? You're 30 years old, Habibi. What are you worrying about retirement? Retirement is who knows if you're going to make it. It's like long time. What retirement? You think there's going to be retirement in 40 years from now? What retirement? Who retires? But there are so many people worried about retirement. Worse yet, there are some people, they're not worried about retirement, but they're worried about other things. How I'm going to afford to marry off my kids. I'm just a regular person, making barely enough money to eat. I'm going to marry off my kids. Excuse me. Last I checked, you were, how old in your 30s? Yeah. How old are your kids? One is 3 and the other one is just born 3 months ago. You're going to marry her at 4 or at 5 years old? No, she's not Rivka. No, we don't do that here. No, maybe you Sephardic people do that. No, over here, no, we're going to wait a little bit. We're going to let her grow up a little bit. You have it 19, 20, 22, 27, something. No. So wait, so you're worried today, you can't learn Torah today, you can't pray today, you're sweating bullets today because of a problem that you may have in 16 years from now? Yeah. How many of us can't even think about praying because we're worried about a problem 16 years from now? Some people, a different type of worry. Rabbi Ephraim calls it the disease of the house. What is the disease of the house? As long as they don't own a house, they feel like they have a disease. Simply. They're renting a house. They're paying rent every month. Baruch Hashem, they have the money to pay the rent. Money shows up somewhere or another, sometimes from a job, sometimes from inheritance, sometimes they have money to pay for rent, but they never feel settled. Why? They don't own the house. They don't own the house, they feel poor. They don't own the house, they feel like they're incomplete. I'll tell you a secret, Rabotai. The overwhelming majority of society does not own a house, especially in the Western world. You're going to say, wait a minute, the statistics show otherwise. They say that a lot of people own a house. No, the banks own the houses and people pay mortgages. Not the people. The people don't own the houses. To own a house means it's fully paid. Most people don't have fully paid houses. In fact, even the people that have a lot of money also have a lot of credit and they owe a lot of banks money. Now you're going to say, yeah, but they can pay off whenever they want. Theoretically speaking, yes, but they're not paying it, and who says they're going to have it when they do? But nonetheless, there's a lot of you that don't have many houses, and in fact, they don't even have a single house they're paying a mortgage on. They're renting, and they feel like they don't have a house. And as long as they don't have a house, they cannot sleep at night. They have to work extra. They have to go do silly things. They have to do all types of ridiculous things in order to get themselves to one day own a house. They'll eat less. They'll sleep less. They'll think less. They'll do less, simply killing themselves to maybe one day own a house. And then finally, when they get enough money to buy a house, which really means to put a down payment on a house that they probably can't afford anyway, they finally put a down payment on a house, assuming that the house will continue to appreciate in value, and therefore they're not going to default on the loan. But nonetheless, it's a interesting predicament that we're in anyway. But people get themselves into houses, but then they also get themselves into a 30-year mortgage. Now, it's nothing wrong with having a 30-year mortgage. What is wrong is that people actually have this belief that unless they have this house that has their name on it, on some title, they can't sleep at night. Unless they have a house that they have a mortgage on, they're incomplete. They're unsuccessful. There is nothing more ridiculous than that. There is nothing more ridiculous than thinking that you need to own a house in order to be deemed successful in any way, shape, or form. In fact, there are many successful people that refuse to buy houses. And there are many people that are not necessarily financially successful, but they're very successful in life and also don't own houses. Success is not determined about whether you own a house or you don't own a house. Quite frankly, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Whether you pay rent or you pay a mortgage, sometimes it's a financial preference. It's a financial preference because when you own a house, you own the responsibilities of that house. If that roof breaks, you have to fix it. If the plumbing breaks, you have to fix it. Or you have to simply sell that bag of chips to somebody else to fix it. But for a lot less price than market value. Unless you're a con man and you sell to people not telling them the problems. But nonetheless, people think that they have to own a house. And they kill themselves over this. There's one guy that Rabbi Ephraim knows. A very tragic story. Where this guy literally killed himself in order to pay the mortgage of his house for 30 years. 30 years he ate less, he slept less, he worked more, he did everything possible just so he could pay the mortgage of this house that he really should have never been in the first place because he couldn't afford it. without literally killing himself. Anyway, month after month, year after year, for 30 years, this guy was paying the mortgage with a dream that he would publicize to everyone constantly. One day he's going to pay off this house. One day he's going to pay off this house after 30 years, and then he'll be a success. Well, on the 30-year anniversary of him paying off the house, making that final payment, the kids decided to have a party. Let's have a party. And at the party, everybody's happy. Great, made the final payment. We finally own this house. But then the kids, since they're young and they care more about how things look than perhaps he does, say, listen, Abba, why don't you think we came up with a great idea? We came up with a great idea as a present for the 30-year anniversary of completing this house. We came up with a great present. We spent some money, and here we go. Here's a plan to remodeling this house. For 30 years, we own it. Let's remodel the house. Make it nicer, up to date. I mean, 30 years, long time. Lots of broken walls, lots of, faucets, this, that. Stuff changes over 30 years. A little bit. Especially for kids. 30 days even. But nonetheless, 30 years. Let's remodel the house. Well, how much does this plan cost? Big number. Ooh, we don't have the money. We thought about that, Dad. We thought about that, and you know what? Great rates at the bank, the local bank, nice people. They really like us over there. We gave them the information that wanted to give us this big number for only small number. For how long? 30 years. And the poor guy fell for the trap of his kids. They borrowed the money, and shortly after they borrowed the money to fix the house, he died. Never, ever even enjoying owning this house that he paid for the way he thought he was going to enjoy for even a moment. And this, unfortunately, Rabotai, is one of the diseases of the world, one of the plagues of the world in the mentality of people, in the ideology of people. It's something that you can cure yourself with a little bit of Torah. But that's why the Chazon Ish is telling us that if a person is worried about his next door neighbor stealing his money, or as the Rabbi Eliezer says, if he's even worried about his own money of what he's going to have tomorrow, he has money today, but he's already worried about tomorrow. He is suffering about tomorrow. He's also sinning. Sin called baby EMUNAH. Baby EMUNAH. That, Rabotai, is a self-destructive sin. Because when you have this baby EMUNAH, all of a sudden your anxiety goes through the roof. And it doesn't go away. Even if you get the money. The anxiety won't go away because something else will replace it. Some other concern will replace it. And Chazon Ish elaborates and says, for one of the principles of Yirat Shamayim, of the fear of heaven, is to believe that no creature in the world has any power to harm or benefit without HaShem decreeing it. When a person does not understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only one that can decide whether you're going to have food tomorrow or not, whether you're going to have a house or not, whether you're going to have whatever it is that you want or not. He's the only one that can decide that. No one else can take away anything from you unless Hashem decides it. Unless a person understands that completely, he or she will live a very miserable life. A life that has worries as one of the priorities of their day. Has worries as simply a permanent fixture in their life, just like oxygen is, at least while they're alive. Worries are simply always there, never go away. There's never peace of mind. There's never a minute to think straight without some worry bothering you. but not the type of worries you want to worry about, but rather the worries that you have no solution to. Where you're going to be, how you're going to be, and so on and so forth. And a lot of this happens to people, but even more so, to people that blame the world for their problems. People that blame the world for their problems, blame the mortgage company, blame the IRS, blame their friend, blame their colleague, blame their boss, blame their car, blame the police officer, blame the president, blame who they voted for and who they didn't vote for, blame the rabbis, blame Moshe Rabbeinu, blame HaShem. They blame everybody except themselves. Everybody except themselves. People come and say, listen, why is it, if God really wants me to pray, why doesn't he help me get money so I can pray better? Some of the most ridiculous notions in the world, but nonetheless, to them it makes sense. Why? Because they think that Hashem needs their prayer and therefore he should give them whatever they want. They don't realize that he's not giving them what they want so they can pray. They're looking at it the opposite. There's a special mitzvah in the Torah that says that after Hashem gives you all the sustenance and all the good that you want, don't forget him. There's a reason why most of us need a lot of stuff. Why? Hashem doesn't want to give us everything. Specifically because he doesn't want us to forget him. Because had he given us everything, most likely we'd all sin by forgetting him. That's why there's a mitzvah in the Torah that says don't forget him. After he gives you everything. Not before. People that are struggling, generally speaking, not forgetting Hashem. Especially the ones that have the big struggle, like struggling for their life. Suddenly when everyone shows up to the hospice center, everyone's religious. Everyone's religious on their deathbed. Even people like Steve Jobs, who was an atheist his whole life, suddenly became religious before he died. Said he made a mistake for being an atheist. This, Rabotai, is a reality that we can learn from and apply to our lives. And when a person thinks that their whole role in the world is to make money, their whole role in the world is to acquire stuff, and everything is in their hands, they're simply self-destructing. Because even if you're succeeding today, who assured you that you're going to succeed tomorrow? And surely if you're succeeding today, your metrics are changing. Your spending habits are changing. Your needs suddenly change. When you first started, having a coffee and a donut was simply enough. Once you started making millions, suddenly, if anything less than a steak won't suffice. That's why losing is so painful for many people, so much so that many of them commit suicide. But the point is, Rabotai, the Chazon Ish is trying to teach us that one of the basic foundations of beliefs in Hashem is a complete clarity that he is the only power in the world that can control your sustenance, your well-being, or the opposite, chas v'shalom. And if the fellow Jew is indeed acting improperly against the law, it is possible that it is about him that it is said, what it says in the Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, page 29a, that Hashem causes a person who is already guilty to become the agent to deliver another's punishment. In other words, that this evildoer becomes the tool to bring about the troubles that have been decreed for the other. But if this act is in accordance with the law of the Torah, this is not a bad mission at all and does not affect at all what is coming to this other person, who will not lack anything as a result of this act. This last part is critical to understand. Because thus far we said, no one can hurt you or help you without Hashem decreeing it. But we see, practically speaking, people do hurt you or do help you. Somebody did give you a job and help promote you to become very successful. Somebody did fire you and cause you to lose a job. Somebody took advantage of you and stole a bunch of money from you, borrowed money from you, didn't pay back. So we see that there are people that cause you good or bad. So the Chazon Ish says, sure, we're not saying it doesn't exist, that people don't cause you good or cause you bad, but they're not acting on their own. They're not acting on their own. They're simply being utilized by the same God that fed you yesterday and the day before and will feed you tomorrow, BeEzrat HaShem. That same God is using them as simply a pawn to deliver either the sustenance, the blessing, or the curse. That person is used as a tool by Hashem. Why? Because the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit says, "Megalgelin zchut al yedei zakai vechova al yedei chayav." In the Bet Din of heaven, HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges everyone, not just when they die, on a daily basis. When a person goes to sleep, the neshama goes up to Shemaim, tells the heavenly Bet Din what it did. Not with words, but the angels that show up with it. Bad angels show up as sins. We are the witnesses that he made such and such sins. Sign here, neshama. Signed. If he did mitzvot, she did mitzvot. She walked around modestly. She kept Shabbat. She said blessings and so on and so forth. The angels she created show up to Shemaim. We are the angels, witnesses, that she made these mitzvot. Neshama, signed. Signed. Wake up. She wakes up, Modeh ani lefanecha, remembers nothing of what just happened moments ago in the Bet Din of heaven. But those actions that took place at that night when she was sleeping and when he was sleeping, that are going to determine what will happen to them in the future. Not just when they die, could even be that day. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees who is righteous and who is wicked on a day-to-day basis, who is still sleeping spiritually and who needs to be woken up urgently, who is awake and alert and deserves a blessing, perhaps even a miracle, who is simply careless and needs a wake-up call like no other. Everyone has their own account that they give in Shamayim every single day. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to give each one of them their parnasah. Sometimes the parnasah is money. Sometimes it's a slap in the face. It's getting fired. It's going on the wrong path and being late to an appointment. It's having a toothache. It's Shem Yishmor, having a car accident. Sometimes that parnasah comes in different ways. Because he has to give you all these things. Now, those things that he gives people, he has to use tools that are of the nature of this world. He's not going to use the supernatural that's obvious for everybody to see. He's not going to send Malach Gavriel, Michael, Raphael, walking around, oh, this guy, sinner, pah, he slaps him. The other one, pah, slaps him. No, it doesn't work that way. He has to use the tools of the world that he created. The cars, the planes, the dentist, the lawyers, the doctors. He has to use all these different things. And now, a person that has a bill to pay and Hashem sends him messages, doesn't wake up. Sends him a text message, doesn't wake up. Sends him a video, doesn't wake up. Sends him a phone call, doesn't wake up. Sends him a letter, doesn't wake up. Even the BeEzrat HaShem Tikkun HaBrit movie he ignores. Doesn't wake up. So, Kadosh Baruch Hu has to send him a bigger message. Bigger message. Right? He has all of his attention on his investments. Everything is going good. His portfolio has increased by 200, 300% over the last couple of years. He feels like everything is good, even though a few things can be fixed. Perhaps the fact that he just found out that his wife is cheating on him hurts a little bit, and the kids don't like him, hurts a little bit. Everybody's happy that he has all this money. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're not getting the message, the wife, the kids, this, you're not getting the message, so he sends him a bigger smack. What happens? He wakes up in the morning, and the investment firm that he invests with declares that they're being invested by the SEC for a Ponzi scheme, for this, for that, and in reality his money is locked up, or the investments that he has declare that they're cooking the books and the investment goes down by 80 or 90%, or perhaps there is simply a market crash, or perhaps 1.5 million different reasons happen, and all of a sudden everything that was holding him still and not losing his mind because his whole world is really collapsing, all the other messages that he's avoiding are happening, but he's avoiding them, that one thing also collapses. HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses tools. Sometimes he'll have to use people, but not just people, people that deserve to be used as the tools. As it is written, Megalgilin zchut al yedei zakai, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses agents that are already guilty to deliver another person's punishment. He has a person that is a nasty, evil person, and he himself is nasty and evil. He is evil in one thing. His friend is also evil in one thing. He likes to cheat and lie and be immoral, perhaps waste seed, maybe even cheat on his wife, and his friend goes along with him once in a while too. It's not a surprise that one day he wakes up and his wife tells him, I'm leaving you. You're leaving me? Why are you leaving me? I got $5 million in the bank. I found somebody that really loves me. What? Somebody really loves you? Who loves you more than me? I have $1 million house for you. Yeah, well, somebody else has a $2 million house. And you know him. I know him. $2 million house. Only person I know. That's what? My brother, my cousin, my best friend. Huh? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the shidduch. Why? He was evil. You were evil. Both of you deserved evil. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the shidduch. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the shidduch. The amount of adultery and immorality in the world is literally hitting peaks. Peaks on a daily basis. The amount of calls and messages that I get every single day of all of these stories is literally, it's blowing my mind. How many people have literally taken adultery as simply another act of life? Cheating and lying has become standard in people's lives. And everyone is always surprised that it's their best friend or their accountant or the gardener or the guy at the store or their partner in the office. It's always somebody they know that is part of this crime. And they don't understand why. The reason is simple. Torah tells you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the Bet Din of Shamayim, every day he gets the bill from you and from her and from him. All of you are doing things that are obviously inappropriate, or else you wouldn't deserve this damage. You are doing whatever you're doing that deserves a punishment. Hashem sends you small calls, small messages, get your attention, get your attention, get your attention, babkis, you're ignoring him. Okay, your wife also, she does her own immodesty, immorality, walks around half naked, does whatever she wants, posts her pictures on the internet, and so on and so on. She's committing sins on a regular basis. Hashem tries to give her a call. Doctor calls her. Listen, we found a lump. We found a this. We found that. Ignores everything. Still walks around like a putza. Okay. The other guy, the accountant, the lawyer, the doctor, the whoever, also has a bill similar to yours. He does this. He does that. He does this. So in essence, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look at this. What a great shidduch. What a great shidduch. He is not getting my message, so he deserves for me to give him a bigger message. She... Shem Yishmor v'Yatzil. Hashem is telling on himself, may I save her, this woman. This guy also deserves. Let's make a shidduch from all of them. They're all going to destroy each other's lives. Now this may sound evil. It happens every single day. It happens every single day. In practically all secular communities. And unfortunately sometimes even in religious. Sometimes in religious communities. But not so much. Not anywhere near much. But I did hear enough stories, and I did witness enough stories that it is infiltrating, this filth is infiltrating the religious communities too. Now, it doesn't always come in the form of adultery. Sometimes it comes in other places. Loss of money. Person works, 20 years, saves a lot of money. All of a sudden, somebody comes up to him with a great deal, a great investment, guaranteed. Guaranteed you'll make 10, 15, 20, 30% a year. Psh, you have any track record? Yeah, my track record goes all the way from here till when I started Disneyland. The guy has a track record. He tells you, I worked at Disneyland, shows you a picture with him and Mickey Mouse. He's going to start a park in Florida. He's going to have all this companies, Sony, Boney, this one, that one. Real story I'm telling you. And his partner worked for the US Open. Psh, what a track record. One guy started Disneyland practically. The other one, US Open. These guys have the best history in the world. They have a nice presentation. All they're asking for is $10, $20 million. What's the big deal? To make 100. Listen, I worked hard for this $10 million. Why not make it into 100? You'd be doing me a favor. I won't have to work so hard. So they get in front of a bunch of unfortunate investors. And one of those unfortunate investors was actually one of our clients. And he calls us. He says, listen, we got these guys from Disneyland and from US Open that want to start the next big thing. Why don't you guys review the information? Listen, you have an account with us. This is usually something we charge for, but we'll do it for free because we're hoping that maybe one day he'll give us more money. Needless to say, we don't know that he's going to end up losing all of his money, this poor guy, him and all of his friends. But I review the information. Within somewhere around 5 to 7 minutes, I look at it and I say this is a Ponzi scheme. My brother, God bless him, says, what do you mean? 5, 7 minutes, it's a Ponzi scheme? You're calling a guy that built Disneyland and the other guy that built the US Open a Ponzi scheme? Come on, you don't believe anybody. You think you're the only... I tell him, listen, Ponzi scheme. Why Ponzi scheme? I said, I can't prove it yet, but I know it's a Ponzi scheme, for sure. I show him a few things. Long story short, we tell the investor, this is something to stay away from. He's like, listen, I need you to come down here and explain it to them and also talk to the guys. Disneyland and US Open are over here. Why don't you talk to them? Maybe you can fix it for them. So we jump on a plane. We go to North Carolina. We meet the guy Henry and the rest of his fellow poor people that have a lot of money. And unfortunately, that's all they have. And we meet the US Open and the Disneyland guy. And we tell them, listen, all this money, yeah. And I start listing problems, and they can't fix it. They can't fix it, and they just realize that they're not in the hole. They're in a sewer. Don't worry, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. We're going to come up with answers. I'm going to say, listen, I'm leaving in the next day or so I'm not going to be here for long. So if you can fix it in the next 24 hours, sure. But I don't know how you can fix such a thing. Because they're still denying. Next day, all of a sudden, they have different proposals and so on. It's okay, thank you very much. I tell the investor and the people there, I said, listen, if they were planning on doing what they said they were going to do before I came here, that means there's something wrong with it. And if they could change it that quickly, for sure there's something wrong with it. Don't invest $1 with them. Don't invest $1 with them. But of course, nobody ever listens to me, except the smart people. And they end up investing a bunch of money. They end up investing a bunch of money in Mr. Disney and Mr. US Open. The only connection they have to either one of those organizations is that they took a picture when they went to the US Open and they went to Disneyland. That's the only connection. The rest of it is history. Just like the money of those investors, everything was lost. Everything was lost. Everything was stolen. It was a complete scam from day one. Now, those people that invested, make no mistake about it, even though they got the warning, no warning in the world would have saved them. No warning in the world would have saved them. Why? They deserved to lose for whatever they did in their life. The thieves that stole the money, they wanted to steal. So HaShem used them to steal. Simple. They wanted to steal, so HaShem used them to steal. They're going to get punished severely for it. HaShem has to use somebody to steal the money because these other people need somebody to steal their money. Everybody got their parnasa, if you get my point. You see, Rabotai Yekarim, when a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is making the shiduchim in Shemayim. Whoever is hurting you and whoever is helping you is all navigated by Hashem. Surely you need to say thank you to anyone that's helping you, even though it's Hashem that sent them your way. Surely you need not love a person if he hurts you, because Hashem sent them, but that doesn't mean that that's okay for him to hurt you. But the point being is, Rabotai, is that a person needs to understand that the only thing that could influence your success is how you act when it comes to Hashem and His Torah. That's the only thing. Whether you sell stocks and bonds or Q-tips to hotel chains, whether you're a plumber or a doctor, whether you're a clerk or you're some CEO, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that could decide whether you'll be a success or a failure. Now sometimes people say, wait a minute, but how is an avrech in a kollel going to ever succeed and have financial comfort as much as the guy that's a CEO of some decent-sized company making $1.5 million a year? How could the avrech that makes a couple thousand shekels a month and has a few thousand shekels donated from different places, how is he going to have more comfort than the guy that's making $1.5 million? The truth is, Rabotai, that the overwhelming majority of the Torah scholars, the people that truly dedicate their life to Torah, whether it's to teach it or to learn it or both, not only have the comfort, but they have much more comfort than any millionaire or billionaire has in the world. Why? Because our Gemara teaches us that although the sustenance of a person is decided on Rosh Hashanah, so are his losses. A person can be decreed to make $1.5 million a year, but to keep only $15,000. Whereas the Avrech is decreed to make $15,000 and to keep $15,000. Now, what's better? Making $1.5 million and see it crash and disappear practically, leaving you with $15,000 left in the bank? Or making $15,000 and you have $15,000. Which one's better? I'll tell you from experience on both sides. $15,000, much better option. This doesn't mean that you won't have some people that are successful in the Torah world. Surely, there's plenty of successes. But the point being is that a large income or even a large amount of money in a bank doesn't necessarily mean that all is well and all is healthy. Because there's a lot more that comes with it. Everyone thinks that a billionaire is going to live forever until he dies. I always use the example of the atheist Steve Jobs because he's perhaps one of the most famous billionaires that ever lived. And he, with all of his billions and all of the successes that he had, simply could not buy himself another minute, despite being a young man and dying because of cancer in his liver. The God that he didn't believe in didn't help him. Why? You don't believe in me. I don't believe in you either. Simple. The reality is, Rabotai, is that there's a lot of people that spend their time chasing different things and they think big. And that leads them to the wrong place. What is the wrong place? The wrong place of thinking big without having EMUNAH is a place where none of us should ever be. But nonetheless, it's a place that many people are, which is a place where people feel like they need to take things into their own hands in order to make it big. The Pasuk says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse number 10, Even va'even, efa va'efa, toivat Adonai gam shneim. Translation, a weight and a weight, a measure and a measure, Both of them are an abomination of HaShem. Now, you may have heard this verse before, as it's mentioned in the Torah a couple of times in the book of Leviticus, chapter 15, verse 35 and 36, and also in Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 13 through 16, talks about measure for measure, weight for weight, where it discusses about the prohibition of having dishonest measures, where a person is in the market and he has false weights in the scale, where he's selling you half a pound or 500 grams of something, but in reality, it's being weighed as double that weight, because the weights that he's putting into the scale that are making it a fake number. So people do this on a regular basis. Unfortunately, they sell fake gold as real gold, fake diamonds as real diamonds, used computers, or what they call refurbished computers, as new, fake glasses and fake bags as brand name bags and brand name glasses. People do this on a regular time, these weights. Manipulation of consumers and outright fraud. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, a weight and a weight, a measure and a measure, both of them are an abomination of HaShem. Now, in the Chumash, in Deuteronomy, where it talks about these false weights and dishonest business dealings, the very next verse talks about the mitzvah to destroy Amalek. And Rashi says over there, what is the connection between false or crooked business practice and destruction of Amalek, a nation, an evil nation? Is that Hashem is teaching us, Rashi says, that when the Jewish people conduct business in a crooked way, when they are dishonest in business, they give power and strength to the nation of Amalek to hurt them. Anti-Semitism increases. The strength of the Nazis increase. Amalek has a bigger desire and ability to hurt Jewish people. Why? You're dishonest in business, that's the outcome. That is simply in the Torah. So why did Shlomo HaMelech mention it again? We already have it in the Torah. Why mention it again? Rabbi Yaron says something out of this world. He says that the verses in Proverbs do not simply repeat the Torah's commandments, but rather each topic in Proverbs should be understood in the context of the passage where it appears. And in this case, the mention of weights follows the expression of disapproval of negative traits of the heart, and thus the possession of dishonest weights is forbidden, even if they are not being used, because the very possession of such an instrument indicates a corrupt character, and one who has them may be tempted to use them. Comes Rabbi Yaron over 800 years ago and tells us something that must have come from Gan Eden, because a regular human being is simply not going to think this way. He says to us, Shlomo HaMelech is not just simply repeating the words of the Chumash. He has better things to do. He's here to teach you a new lesson from the same words. It's not enough that the Torah said, don't conduct dishonest business because it leads to bad. No. You also have to know that having the tools of the dishonest person already makes you an abomination in the eyes of Hashem. Having those weights that a crook would use in your possession is forbidden. Having the ability and the interest to fool people. You are learning how to speak in order to manipulate people. You are doing different things in order to lie to people. You have a hobby of playing poker, and you're learning day and night how to deceive people, because that's what you need in order to win in this game. All of those are considered an abomination. Why? Having those tools will tempt you to use them. Having those tools will tempt you to use them. And the fact that you own these possessions, you own a fake diamond, you own a fake bag that could potentially be sold. Not that you bought it for yourself because you don't care about the brand and you just want the bag. You have these tools of deception that could be utilized for deception. Just the ownership alone makes the person an abomination in the eyes of HaShem. So why does it say the words double, weight and weight, measure and measure? The Gaon of Vilna says that a person has to possess accurate weights and measures. And just like he has to do that, he has to monitor his spiritual level accurately. And any inappropriate behavior, even an attempt to progress too quickly in business or otherwise, is an abomination of HaShem. Meaning, it's mentioned twice to repeat to you, listen, you measure, check the measure. Your success, check the success. Always be real with yourself of where you really stand. Why? Because if you're going to try to bite more than you chew, you're going to try to go to a place where you don't belong, buy things you can't afford, do things you can't really do, and so on and so forth. Not because of ambition, but rather because you feel entitled, or you feel like you need to get there for some, egotistical reason. Even that is considered an abomination. But furthermore, comes the Metzudot, and he says that sometimes there's going to be crooks that will have the tool of falsehood on their desk. They'll have a tool of falsehood on their desk. They'll have the fake weight on their desk. They'll have a example of the criminals on their desk, a picture of something or a tool of something to show their customers, look, this is what crooks look like. Why? Trying to give the impression that they're not crooks. But all the while, they are crooks. So the Metzudot says, the reason why this verse says, measure and measure, weight and weight twice, because both the one that you're exemplifying, a crook, is an abomination, and the one that you're using is an abomination. And then the Bnei Shlomo says, last but not least, sometimes a person pretends to be righteous. He looks the part. Nice, long, white beard, peot, hat, everything. Says the words and everything. Inside, rotten, pedophile, thief, crook, everything. The Bnei Shlomo says both parts of him are an abomination. The fake part and the real part. Why? Because he is using the good one in order to benefit the bad one. He's using the tool that shows other people are criminals in order to be a criminal himself. Therefore, Rabbeinu Yonah says you're not even allowed to own these criminal traits, these abhorrent traits. Why? It'll tempt you to use them. It'll tempt you to use them. And why do you have so much confidence in yourself that you're going to use these things? That you're not going to use these things? Many times people think that they're going to beat the market, they're going to beat society, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I always tell them, stay away from certain things. And many times they simply ignore it and they do whatever it is that they want. Rabotai Yekarim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to tell us Stop trying to get ahead. Stop trying to think that you are going to decide how much you're going to have. Do your ishtadlut. Do whatever your best effort is, but nothing more. Work, normal. Eat, normal. Sleep, normal. Do whatever it is to be normal. Don't think that just because you're going to do more, that's going to lead to your success. If you want to do more because for the sake of doing more, because you like it, because it creates more good and so on, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you're trying to succeed faster, because you think you're going to be the determining factor of whether you succeed or not, you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. And sometimes when people don't raise their kids with Torah and mitzvot, they end up having kids that remind them of their mistakes. As one of the greatest things that a person can do is, if they want to honor their parents, says the Admor Mi'almin, person that wants to honor his parents, one of the greatest things they can do is to learn Torah. And one of the greatest gifts that a father can give to his kids is to teach them Torah. But if a father does not teach his kids Torah, and if his kids go to public school, don't be surprised, says the Admor Mi'almin. Don't be surprised when the kids go against the father, when the kids embarrass the father in public, when the kids care less about the father. And also, don't be surprised if the verse in Exodus chapter 20 verse 5 gets fulfilled, where Kadosh Baruch Hu says, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, where Hashem Yishmor, one of the most vicious things can possibly happen, which is that Hashem kills the children because of the sins of the father. Because they're continuing the sins of the father, and therefore they deserve the punishment of the father. And Admor Mi'almin says one of the most vicious things that a person can do is to kill his own children because he's not teaching them Torah. But sometimes a person is not teaching his kids Torah, and his kids are going to be the ones that teach him Torah. But not in the standard way of, here's the Chumash, here's the Parashah, let us teach you. But rather from life. As it happened somewhere around 50 years ago, famous story, heartbreaking story, but a true story nonetheless, and it happened multiple times in history. Where a guy in Eretz Yisrael had success, had money, had a lot of different things, and also had 7 kids. Not religious, no one's keeping much, but nonetheless, enjoying life. And all the kids grow up and they get whatever they want from their father and so on, and they all go into their businesses, and the father is successful and everybody respects the father and listens to the father whenever he says something. But as life would have it, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, and Megalgel zchut al yedei zakai v'chova al yedei chayav, brings the merit to the ones that are meritorious and the obligation to the ones that are obligated. The father makes a few financial mistakes and ends up losing all of his money. Shortly later, his business. Shortly later, his own house. And as he loses his house, suddenly the kids don't have time for him anymore. Even though they're all in business and they're all doing okay, they don't have time for father anymore. And the father is struggling and struggling and struggling to the point where he has no food to eat. And he loses his house. One of his friends sees him, and he gets so upset, and he says to his friend that's now at a loss, older age already, he says to him, listen, can I do something to teach your sons a lesson once and for all? He says, sure, do whatever you want. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Sure, do what you got to do. He says, but you got to follow along with whatever I say. He says, no problem. Goes. He buys him a brand new suit, buys him a nice, thick gold chain, and he also buys him one of the chains that the people from the Middle East have, that have nice jewels on them. He says, wear this, sit in front of my store all day. Don't move. And that's it, yeah. So, the father now, looking good, brand new suit, nice chain. Word spreads that he's back. Maybe he bought the store. Maybe he fell into some money. The kids hear it. Listen, we haven't talked to Dad. We haven't talked to Abba in a long time. Let's go pass by. Kids show up. Hey, Abba. Hey, how you doing? Long time. Sorry I haven't seen you. It's been busy with work. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? All of a sudden, everybody cares. One kid says, listen, Abba, come to me for Shabbat. Okay. The other one says, no, Abba, come to me on Thursday, though. You go to Shabbat for me Thursday. Okay. The other one says, no, Abba, Wednesday, you're at my house. I'm going to have somebody come pick you up. The other one says, Tuesday, I'm coming to pick you up. I'm coming. Last one says, Abba, forget about it. Monday, I'm coming, picking you up. You stay in my house. I'm going to give you your own card. You spend whatever you want. Everything is on me, Abba. From now on, you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to worry about nothing no more. You can come, sit in my house, sleep in my house. We got you, Abba. All 7 kids are back in his life. Take care of him. And every so often he moves from one child's house to another child's house. And everybody's happy to welcome him. And they spend money on him. And they take care of him. 10 years. 10 years pass. And that's how he's alive. After 10 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the neshama back. But before he died, he told his sons, my will is by my friend at the store. He's going to tell you exactly the place that my possessions are in the back of the store. It's in the back of the store, he's going to tell you. So, they go to the friend. Where's the stuff? Oh, it's in the back of the store. He goes, yeah, I know it's in the back of the store. Where is it in the back of the store? He goes, no, you'll see it. There's a barrel over there. It's in the barrel. All the sons are excited. Ooh, wow. We got it. 10 years of work. 10 years of work with that guy. I mean, our father, 10 years of work. We got it. Our father was smart. He didn't just put it anyway. Could have put it in a safe. Could have put it in a bank. But people look for banks. People rob banks. He put it in some regular store in the back of the store in a barrel. What a genius our Abba was. They all go. They do a few blessings in preparation for the wealth they're about to inherit. They get to the back of the store. They see a barrel, simple barrel, and they're even more impressed at how much of a genius their father is. How much of a genius to put it at such a simple barrel. Now, footnote. In those days, didn't have plumbing everywhere in Eretz Yisrael. So what would people do? Simple. Everybody had a barrel. So the guys, all 7 of them, open up the barrel. It doesn't smell like jewels. But they are even more impressed. They're like, our dad is absolutely a genius. Why would you leave it in a barrel without putting something to cover it? Something that no one else would ever think is covering it. Father's a genius. No, who's going? I'm going. Okay. You go first and let's see what you got. I'll go second. They take turns. He puts the head in the barrel and he's looking for the treasure. He finds some treasures, but not exactly the treasures that he wants. And the second, you didn't find nothing? No, I didn't find nothing. Okay, the second one, third one, each one, they're all putting their arms like, let's just pour this thing. And before they pour this thing, and they're at the bottom of the barrel full of fecal matter and filth, the friend shows up and says to them, no, what do you think of the treasure that your father left you? They're like, we can't find anything. He says, no, you already found everything that he left you. This is what he left you because that's who you are. And that's his message to you. Rabotai Yekarim, although it's a funny but also a sad story, this is the story that will be for every single father that leaves his kids without Torah. There's a reason why the Chachamim forbid anyone to touch a human body after it dies, saying that as soon as a human dies, that body's tameh, impure. Torah says impure. The body is impure, it's dead. Why? Why is it dead? Why is it impure? The Gemara says that if the human body did not become impure after it dies, the children that are fighting over the parents' money will end up fighting to such an extent that they would fight over the body in order to make the skin of their parents into garments and carpets they can put on the walls. Just because they want to win the argument, just because they're so hungry for possessions. A person that does not give his children the gift of Torah is cursing them and himself as well. Why? They're guaranteeing that this will be their end. How many parents have I met where their kids do not know any Torah and yet the parents are surprised that the kids are cursing them out? How many times have I heard children that are not grown up, cursing their parents out, calling their parents deadbeats? Why? He didn't leave me the house. He left it to my brother. She left it to this one. She left it to that. Okay, so she worked her whole life. She got some money. She got some houses. She decided not to give you anything. That makes her a bad person? That makes her a deadbeat? That makes her a person that you hate? What about all the diapers she changed? What about the food she made you? What about all the things she did for you? Forget it. Every mother does that. I do it for my kid too. And I like to say sometimes, yeah, and your kid's going to do that to you also, just like you're doing to your mother. Just like you're cursing your mother out that died or is still alive sometimes because she doesn't have stuff to give you or is not giving you the stuff that you want, your kid's going to do the same thing to you. But don't worry. Don't worry, you'll see it before you. Why? Because you're living the same life. She didn't live a life of Torah. She didn't teach you Torah. And you are not living a life of Torah. And your kid doesn't have Torah. One of the biggest curses that a person can give his kids is a life without Torah, Rabotai. Why? There is no reason for the child to care for a parent if Torah does not obligate them to. Now, every parent grows and is successful and respected and honored and admired for the first 50 years or so. After that, things start going downhill in the health, sometimes money, sometimes this. But once you already get into the late 60s and 70s, things deteriorate pretty fast, and suddenly you become annoying to everyone. And there's not really much to change. All of a sudden, no one wants to take care of this parent. All of a sudden, nobody wants to host this parent. All of a sudden, everybody starts to look at different homes and different places to host this parent. And the parent that raised 5, 6, 7 kids doesn't have a single one that's willing to host him. Doesn't have a single one that cares about him. And this happens, Rabotai, many times throughout history. Years ago, there was a guy, very successful. So successful, he had a house with 10 rooms. For him, his wife, his little 5-year-old son, and also his old father. Now, the more successful he became, the less patience he had for his father. His father was an old-timer. Health wasn't so good. Every time he would pick up the kiddush cup full of wine, his hands would shake and it would spill over the fancy table, sometimes on the rug. It would be very, very annoying. And the son, very successful, by the way, in money. Da'at Torah, 0. But nonetheless, couldn't wait till his father died. And he figured he'll probably die next week, every week. Next week, next week, next week. And the poor man never died, although he probably wanted to, with such a son. And one day, they're having dinner, and the son hasn't spoken to the father in weeks. He can't stand him. But today, as soon as the father picks up the wine to drink, his hands shake a little more than usual, and he spills everything all over the floor. The son gets frustrated as can be and says, that's it, I've had it. Goes to the room, takes the few possessions that the father has, and throws him out of the house. The father begs him, please, I have nowhere to go and no money. The son, merciless, cares less, throws him out with nothing to go with. The little boy respected his father and figured that the father is sending his father to somewhere good. He didn't know the magnitude of things. He knew his father was upset, but he figured he probably got him a different house or a different place. He's a little boy. What does he know? But he saw that his father was upset, so he didn't say anything. He's 5 years old after all. So, some time passed, and the boy was walking outside one day with 14 coins that his father gave him to go buy something. And on his way to the store, he saw that there's a poor man in the streets, and it was cold outside. And the poor man had ripped clothes and was begging for money. And the little boy with the cute, precious heart couldn't see it. And immediately he ran up to the old man and said, here you go. And the old man says to him, oh, my boy, you don't recognize me? And the boy looks at him, what, who? He says, my boy, I'm your grandfather. I'm your Saba. The little boy could not handle the reality he was seeing. Could not handle the reality that his own grandfather, who raised him for the first 5 years of his life, was outside with ripped clothes, freezing cold, begging for money. His grandfather said to him, my boy, please, go get me some jacket, some clothes. I'm freezing outside. Please, get me something. The little boy ran back inside. And as soon as he came inside, his father said, what are you doing? He says, I'm going to get Grandpa, I'm going to get him a jacket. You have a jacket? He's cold. And the son was still angry. He said, no, don't get him nothing. No, he's cold. Please get him something. It's like, all right, just get him something. There's something in the attic. Don't go into my closet. That's expensive stuff. There's probably something in the attic over there. And the son goes up to the attic, and he sees that the only thing that's there is a ripped jacket with holes in it. And he's disappointed that his father only wants to give this to his grandfather. And the little boy, who was learning Torah already, had an idea. Had an idea that only a Jewish mind that learns Torah can have. What can I do to tell my father how I feel without words? And he decides to rip the jacket in half, takes the scissors and cuts the jacket in half. And the father is screaming, why taking you so long? He says, 1 second, I'll be right down, Tati. And he comes downstairs with a half a jacket, and the father says, what'd you do? Why'd you rip the jacket? He says, well, Abba, I only want to take what I could. What do you mean what you could? Well, I'm going to give this to Saba. I'm going to give it to Grandpa. What about the other half? He says, no, the other half is for you when you get old. The father felt an atomic bomb exploded inside his heart, realizing that all of the wrong that he did, in a matter of seconds, as if his life flashed before his eyes. Learning a MUSSAR lesson from his own 5-year-old boy, he realized what wrong he did to his own father, and what wrong he was teaching his own son, that calculated that since you are giving only a half a jacket to your father, I'm going to give you half a jacket because I'm your son. You see, Rabotai Yekirim, when a person thinks that they are responsible for their own success and they're going to chase money, it's not only the disastrous, anxiety-filled life that they're going to live that's going to cause damage to them and to everyone around them, but also that they're going to breed children that are even worse than them. The children that are going to treat them worse than they treated their parents. Why? Because when money becomes your priority in life, when success becomes your priority in life, when you think that you are responsible for all of it from your own actions, and it's not HaShem that decides who and where to go and how much to give and who to give and so on, when you think that you are in charge, literally you are creating evil. Because ayotze mitameh tameh, something that's impure creates impurity. This is one of the most fundamental lessons that a Jew needs to know, needless to say everybody in society needs to know. Without Torah, Rabotai, we have no reason, no logical reason to create something better than us. There is no reason for the children to appreciate their father. Surely no reason to appreciate them once they're useless to them, as far as money or otherwise. There's no reason for the parents to even invest in their children. There's no reason for the marriage to continue after the lust has gone away. There's no reason for society to improve without Torah. Why? Because as long as everyone thinks that they are in charge of their own success, thereby being in charge of their own pleasures, that means that they're only going to go where they believe pleasure will be. And a person without Torah is only going to live such a life. Whereas a person that has Torah will have an understanding of what the real pleasure is in life. The real pleasure in life is doing what HaShem says and seeing Him give us the pleasure that we want, even beyond what we thought was even possible. The comfort that whatever we have is enough. The knowledge that whatever we want, if we need it, if it's really ours, we'll get it. The understanding that whatever we do will have some significance, even if we don't see it. And the complete belief that everything in this world is temporary except your Torah and your actions. Your Torah and your actions will yield you something after this life. Therefore, making this life not only purposeful, but also a life you need to invest as much possible. But not as much as possible into bricks and into wood, but rather invest as much as possible into learning what to do, how to do it, and to actually do it. When you do that, you're buying yourself eternity, and you're also buying your children eternity. This, Rabotai, is one of the most valuable and important lessons that a person needs to know. This is why in the Gemara it says that Resh Lakish cried on his deathbed. Cried on his deathbed that he's leaving his children a little bit of vegetables. The Gemara in Masechet Gitin, page 47a. Resh Lakish says, Oy li, woe to me, that the verse in Psalms 49 verse 11, Ve'azvu la'achim chelam, la'acherim chelam, that they left others their possessions. He says, woe to me that I left others my possessions. What possessions? A little bit of vegetables, 2 pounds of vegetables. What was he talking about? Resh Lakish was saying, these 2 pounds of vegetables may not look much to you, but I worked for it. I learned Torah, I did mitzvot in order to get myself eternity. But in order to survive in this world, I worked. I sold this, I bought this, I worked here, worked there. But I only worked in order to survive, in order to do the mitzvot, in order to get myself eternity. But that means if I have extra, before I leave this world, I have 2 pounds of extra vegetables. I don't have houses, I don't have cars, I don't have nothing else. All the money I have, I gave tzedakah, I did mitzvot with. But I still have extra vegetables. That means I overworked in this world. And that extra, I'm leaving it to others. How many people overwork on this world and yet leave everything for others? Rabotai Karim, our job in this world is to accumulate as many mitzvot and Torah for the next world. The assets that we have, that we can take with us, are spiritual. The physical, the tangible assets should be utilized during our life to make more spiritual, to do more good in the Torah world, more good in the spiritual, more good in the eternal world, to try to accumulate a lot of material things. When a person really thinks about it, you buy another building, another house, another plane, another this, for who? To leave it for others? Doesn't make much sense. That's why some of the people that suffer the most after this world are the people that are extremely wealthy and left everything they worked for others. The Chachamim, on the other hand, they did enough work onto the next world that they realized that even if they left 2 pounds of vegetables, it's too much. BeEzrat HaShem, this will give us the understanding, the clarity, the wisdom, and the courage to live the way of the righteous, the way of the people that are looking for a permanent life, and not just one that's enjoying a temporary world. Thank you for learning with me. May Hashem bless each and every single one of you. BeEzrat HaShem, we'll see each other later on this week. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.
Seven years of lectures. Seven months of film editing. Countless hours of study by 2 rabbis. Information we received over 3,000 years ago. All for this moment. Tikkun had greed. The movie.
There's a small member in your body. It shouldn't take over your whole life. If you satiate it, you're never going to have enough.
The Sofer clan, when it gets a hold of something, it does not let go.
Time for us to rectify what we have done.
Normal numbers should be somewhere around 20 million or higher.
You're never going to have control of it. If you start it, and only feed it when it's permissible according to the Torah.
Pornography is as addictive as crack cocaine.
You're always going to be happy, including this world and the next. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen.